What is truth? How would we explain what truth is? How does the world today define truth? Welcome home. This is At Home Apologetics. I'm Kyle Velasquez, and today we're going to dive a little deeper into truth and what it actually means and where we totally get it wrong. Let's get after it. Throughout history, we have developed so many different ways to approach a bunch of topics. There have been a ton of thinkers throughout time who have approached how we look at reality and the world around us. One question that has been asked throughout history has been, what is truth? Stick around in this video and I'll show you where atheists and Christians alike get this totally wrong. Over time, we have accumulated some different theories of truth. Some of the main ones being the correspondence theory of truth, the pragmatic theory of truth, consensus theory, and coherence theory. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list of the theories of truth, but just perhaps the most relevant theories. I'm not here trying to give a comprehensive lecture on truth, but just to get you guys thinking a little and take you just a little deeper and show you where the world today has got it twisted when it comes to truth. Now, correspondence theory of truth simply states that truth is that which corresponds to reality. That a statement is true if it aligns with what is actual or a verifiable fact in the world. If I say that there are trees outside my window, and there are in fact trees, then my statement is relying on the correspondence theory of truth, that the reality is that there's trees outside my window. The pragmatic theory goes like this: the truth is only regarding what is useful or what practically works. If believing something leads to a positive, functional outcome, then it can be considered true. This may be found in some people saying, hey, if believing this or that and doing such and such makes you a better person, then it must be true. And I think we've all heard that from people who talk about, oh, well, they found God, or they found this, or they found that, and like, if that makes them a better person or helps them to overcome addiction or something like that, then good for them, that must be true. The consensus theory of truth is truth developed in whatever a group of people agrees upon to be true. If everyone in the social group agrees, then it must be true. Of course, think of the implications of this when you think about slavery or the Holocaust. You had major social groups believe things about specific people. Was it true just because they agreed? I think most of us would say
not at all.
Finally, the coherence theory of truth. That truth is about internal consistency rather than an absolute reality. If something fits logically within some sort of like established system without contradictions, then it must be true. Some of these theories may be obviously stronger than others to some, but when it comes to the truth, most of these theories but one simply are tests for truths, but not an explanation of truth itself. The only theory of truth that defines truth itself would be the correspondence theory of truth. In fact, all the other theories rely on the correspondence theory. And Dr. Norman Geisler puts it this way in the Baker Encyclopedia of Apologetics, saying, all non-correspondence views of truth imply correspondence, even as they attempt to deny it. The claim, truth does not correspond with what is, implies that this view corresponds to reality. Then, the non-correspondence view cannot express itself without using a correspondence frame of reference. Now, when we talk about the correspondence theory of truth and things like that, it might be easy to fall into this like hyper-literal sense of what is true or what's said to be true or what not, but this doesn't mean things like hyperbole, or metaphor cannot be used or are simply
untrue statements.
And Dr. Richard Howe would say it this way: one can use literal language, allegory, metaphor, simile, analogy, symbols, hyperbole, phenomenal language, informal language, synecdoche, or metonymy. The key here is that the correspondence theory of truth does not say that a statement is true only when it corresponds literally. For instance, if I say, "I'm dying of thirst," most will take that to mean I'm really thirsty at the moment, not that I'm literally dying. And even though I'm not literally dying, my statement still corresponds to the reality that I'm really thirsty. Now, here's the problem we face today.
Live your truth. Accept your truth. Your truth is your truth. My truth is my truth. Truth is relative. Whatever works is true. Everything can be true.
Nothing can be true.
This is the world we live in. No matter who you are watching this video, you have probably either heard people say one of these things or have said one of these things yourself. And here's the problem. All of these statements fall on the sword when they are put to a test of truth. When we talk about your truth, most of the time we are simply talking about your experience or your opinion. And yes, this may be true that you think or feel a certain way, but it is no way objectively true most of the time. Most of the time, we are using this statement to justify our feelings or actions under this guise of what is true, therefore implementing a premise that our feelings, opinions, or actions cannot be challenged. Like, what if your truth is that
you're a pencil?
And this might sound crazy to some people who just heard that, but we believe crazy things about the truth concerning our nature and biology all the time. When you start to consider feelings or opinions as truth without testing them, you enter into a world of blurred lines and confusion, which is very much so a lot of what we have today. What if your truth contradicts my truth? Whose is true then? What is true at that point? This is often where people find themselves at this universalist, postmodern, relativistic crossroads where they have to either admit that all things can be true or that
nothing can be true.
So here's the final problem then. The problem is that based on the laws of logic, everything simply cannot be true, and it doesn't take long for you to see how ridiculous it can be to think that everything can be true. A square cannot be a square and a circle. A pencil cannot be a pencil and at the same time and in the same way an ink pen. A flower cannot be a race car. So on and so forth. Even to the truth about the afterlife cannot be explained through Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, atheism, all at the same time and in the same way because they simply contradict each other's teachings. One must be right
and the other's wrong.
So, a person then may just throw up their hands and say, you know what, there is no truth then. But the reality is that even when you say there is no truth, you are making a truth claim that there is no truth. Yet another contradiction. We must come to analyze what is true, but what is true in the sense of what corresponds to reality. Aristotle said it like this: to say of what is that it is not, or of what is not that it is false, while to say of what is that it is and what is not that it is not is true. We test truth through things like language and logic, and then come to a conclusion based on this about what is true and what isn't. Take all these things into account when you begin to consider what is true and what is not. Or when you hear people say, live your truth, or truth is relative, test their statement against what really is and see how they hold up to reality. As Christians, we believe that when Jesus says in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life, no one comes to the Father except through me, that this is a truth claim, and it either corresponds to reality or not, and it's either true for all people or it's true for no one. Let me know what you guys think down in the chat. What theory of truth do you think is best, or how do you see the world today view truth? I want to hear from you and continue to build a community here. Like and subscribe and check out this video right here for more content. Love you guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay blessed.